In this video, I'm going to be talking about a tea that I make. It's a medicinal tea. I've selected certain ingredients, certain subspecies of certain plants to go in this tea, and I'll talk about that a little bit. This tea is not brewed for taste. It can be sweetened to be tolerable, but if you're looking for taste, this is not it. Think of it as medicine. This first leaf, I've chosen to use this tonight because it has a slightly sedative effect. It also has some antimicrobial properties, can work on wound healing as a poultice, can be used to help treat kidney infection, Cecropia Peltata. You can see on the back side, it's a little more pale, a little whitish on the back side. This tree, I'm familiar with the tree that this came off of. I'm familiar with the tree that all of these came from. They're on the road going to my house on the mountain near Volcan Miravalles. This one is a peltata instead of an insignis, and I know that because when this leaf was green, it had a very abrasive surface. The top side of the leaf was not smooth. It could actually probably be used as a fine sandpaper. You can't tell so much now because it's dried, but when it was green, it was very rough. And it only has a few lobes per leaf. Now, these are the lobes. These are what you call lobes. They're the individual lobes of the leaf. On the peltata, only has a few. It has like 1, 2, 3, 4. But it has like 6 lobes on that leaf. So it's either insignis or peltata, and it's definitely peltata because it has an abrasive upper surface, and it's not smooth. This was from the insignis. So a little bit of green art. I'm also familiar with the tree that this came off of. This big leaf was it was almost like a, if you've ever touched a magnolia leaf on the top, it felt a little bit like that, some of the glossy, harder surface of leaves. The insignis can be used to treat inflammation, hypertension, cardiovascular conditions, and that sort of thing. And I do use this leaf a lot. There's really only room for 2 leaves in my pot, so insignis is not going in tonight, but this will probably be what I mix with the obtusifolia for tomorrow night. This is the obtusifolia leaf, and you can see the difference. It's curled. It has many lobes. I think this one had 11 lobes on it. But this variety of Cecropia, as soon as the leaf is detached from the tree, it starts to curl. This and the angustifolia are similar, but this is obtusifolia. I'm familiar with the tree that it came from. This is a good variety of Cecropia to use to treat diabetes and for blood sugar management. It can actually lower blood sugar. And so I have a little problem with that. So I'm going to be using that leaf tonight. Now this, I like to use these fresh. This is Hoja Santa, holy leaf. There's a long story for that. We're not going to go into it, but why it's called that. This one's been chewed a little bit. I usually use 2 leaves, but tonight we got 3, so I'm going to use all 3 of them in the pot. I will boil these separately from the Cecropia. I don't know why. There may not be a good reason, but I just cook them separately. And this is the step when I cook these, when I sweeten it just a little bit. And I want to start using stevia, but I don't have a good source for that yet. But this is Hoja Santa, root beer plant. It's a little sassafrasy. This is used for inflammation. It's a strong anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. You can eat the leaves. We've seen recipes for cooking eggs and whatnot with the Hoja leaf, and you wrap them around fish to give them a flavor. But it grows wild down near our fence, and we use it to brew up in a tea. So what I do is I just grind up the leaves as fine as I can get them. But this has some darker areas. This is just where it got a little wetter. It soaked. It was raining and it got wetter and soaked. But I just strip each lobe and just kind of squeeze it up as best I can. The obtusifolia doesn't, when it's very, very dry, it crumbles better. But because I rinse them and clean them and all that. Sometimes they're wet when I use them, and it doesn't matter. It still gives you a really good tea. So I don't worry about getting it ground up into tiny little pieces. I just get it off the stems. My hands are arthritic. I have rheumatoid arthritis. So this is very painful for me to do this, to squeeze these leaves and mash them up. So someone without rheumatoid arthritis might take more pains with it, but I do what I can. It hurts. My hands hurt. And this part, once the leaf matter is taken off of it, this can be put in a compost. It's really good compost material. It brings a lot of nitrogen back into garden soil, so I compost all of these leaves. Even after I cook them, I don't just dump the leaves out, I turn them into compost. Now, this is the Peltata. This is the one that has some wound healing properties and antimicrobial and also a little bit of a sedative effect. Sloths and toucans and animals of the rainforest really love this tree, this particular variety. I think it makes them feel good. And I have brewed this green. I have used the leaves green, and it makes a really nice green tea. I don't know if it changes the medicinal properties, but it's a slightly different taste. And I would use the leaves green, except the Cecropia trees are extremely tall trees. They grow tall and fast. They're one of the tallest trees in the jungle, and they'll shoot up within a couple of years and be, 20, 30 feet tall. And even taller than that, they grow above the canopy because they need lots of sun. So the chances of getting a green leaf on a tall tree are slim to none. Fortunately, they don't lose their medicinal and pharmaceutical benefits once they turn brown and curl up. And they're easy to get, easy to scavenge. You just see them on the ground and pick them up. I'll be driving along the mountain road, going town or coming back, and I'll see one and just stop and grab it. This is a nuisance species for many people who don't understand all of the properties of it, and people cut them down and they don't want them and they don't want the big leaves lying around. But I see a big leaf, I go get it. I want it because I want to do this to it. I bring the Cecropia leaves to a good hard boil. I think it takes some high heat and extended time to extract all the properties from them that we want. So they get a pretty good amount of time on the heat. And then after I turn off the heat, I'll let them steep until they cool before I pour them into another container. So then, after this has steeped and cooled a little while, I strain it into a metal pot. I use a plastic pitcher just to store it in the refrigerator, but I don't like putting anything hot into plastic. There's just too much nasty with that, too many chemicals that seep out. So I strain everything into a metal pot until it's cool, refrigerator temperature. Now, I don't strain the Hoja Santa because the Hoja Santa leaves, you can actually eat them. And I mean, it wouldn't hurt you if you ate a dried Cecropia leaf, but it would just be really nasty in your sip of tea. So they're crunchy. I mean, just crunchy in tea just doesn't go. So I strain all of that out. And I'll put it in the refrigerator to wait for the Hoja Santa tea. So here goes the Hoja Santa leaves. And I'll put every single part of that in there. There's that smell. And you notice I'm using a ceramic cook pot. I don't want to use Teflon. I'm trying to get completely away from anything Teflon. I just don't think any good thing comes from ingesting Teflon. But what I do with the Hoja Santa leaves is I take that middle part out to, make it a little easier, then fold them over a couple times and just rip them. I just rip them and put them in there. Now, this is a well-known seasoning. It's a well-known food item. It's used in the U.S. in several kind of higher-end restaurants. You can do some research on this and on the Cecropia and on everything that, I talk about with these teas. I'm not the ultimate authority. I'm just telling you what I do. Now, I would definitely advise you to check your own, information. I usually use 2 leaves, but Michelle brought me 3. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3. It'll just be a particularly strong decoction, and that's fine. I just rip it all up. This reminds me of when I was little and I used to play with weeds in the yard and pretend like I was cooking, and I had little pots. Of course, I didn't use any heat. I was just playing. Little did I know that the stuff I was using was actually plantain, broadleaf, docks, some of the dock plants that were actually edible. I could have cooked them and eaten them. This smells really good once it starts heating. You can smell it. It'll smell all over the house, and it's very, very pleasant. But I just put all that in there. I bring it to a boil. Now, I won't hard boil this the way that I did the Cecropia. This is a more tender plant. I think the oils and the ingredients that we're trying to extract from it, the compounds, I don't think they're as difficult to pull out of the leaves. So I bring it just to a boil, just till I start smelling it in the house. And then I'll come back and turn the heat off and then just let it sit and steep for at least 30 minutes and then add it to my other tea mixture. So ready to go on the heat. So my Hoja Santa leaves have come to a boil. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of sugar. And I'd really rather use stevia, but I haven't found a good source for it. I don't have any growing. But I'm going to let that just come back to a boil to mix the sugar up in it. And then I will add this to the Cecropia tea in the metal pot and let it cool overnight. So now that this has had a chance to cool a little bit, I'll pour it in with the Cecropia tea. Look at all those oils on the surface. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that we're after. So I'll just add it here. And I'm not too particular about this. I'm not sending it through a strainer. And some of the leaves will get in there. But like I said, it's a little different. That lid is still warm. Wow, my fingers. It's a little different with these leaves because if we do get a mouthful of them, it's not like getting a mouthful of a brittle brown Cecropia leaf. Well, I won't make a mess yet. That lid is still really warm. Wow. I may have to hold it with a banana peel. And that will go into the compost along with the banana peels. And this will go into the refrigerator for tomorrow. And all that yummy goodness, the mix of 2 varieties of Cecropia and Hoja Santa, ready to do a body good.